things for that. That's great.
Woo! We're live.
Hey.
With Jake and Eric. Really excited to be here today to kick off another series of events. It's been, gosh, so
fortunate.
Yeah. These will be fortunate.
Yeah, they're seriously fortunate. Oh man, I got sorry to randomize already, but I just watched Home Alone 2 again, and Tim Curry is he's like the concierge. That's great. But if you guys if you're into audiobooks, if you have kids or yourself, he reads the series of Unfortunate Events audiobooks, and it's just is like right up there, like the best audiobook performances I've ever heard. It's just amazing. Tim Curry, series of Unfortunate Events audio. Is it? Is it? Yeah, the Lemony Snicket books. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. All right, that's totally random. Douglas, back to you.
No, I love it. It's right up there with you're watching some awesome stuff lately. It sounds like so. I encourage all your viewing activities.
There we go.
So, December 8th and 9th, we got you back in Austin, and it was 2018 since the last time you were in Austin for a Design Sprint event.
That is wild. But of course, pandemic craziness. But so it's I'm really excited. In fact, the last time I did a workshop in person last August in Switzerland. And then before that was the first one since the pandemic, and like I can't remember what was going on, but that was like maybe the beginning of Delta variant or something. Like it kind of got worse, and so this is the first event in the U.S. since the pandemic, and super excited about it. Really excited to be with you guys in person, and love being in Austin. Austin is such a fun place for these workshops, so I'm stoked.
Absolutely, and we've got a really awesome host with the Zebra, kind of a amazing Austin startup, and we're just a really great success story to see, watch them get started in a garage and then blow up and become a company that's hiring, massive ads across, TV and things, and which means they were able to build a really incredible office right on West 6th Street, right near all the great restaurants. And so you get to be the lucky recipients of all their success, because we're gonna have the event right there in their cafe and big lunchroom.
That's fantastic. Yeah, it's I think we've been in all kinds of different places in the previous work. So this sounds like it might be the most legit setup yet. Not that it wasn't legit before if you came to one of the earlier ones, but we were definitely scrapping together at the last,
whole new level.
Yeah, this is great.
So Jake, I know that there's some new stuff planned on day 2, but also curious on day 1, which will be the classic one-day design sprint event with, high fives and sketching about money saving techniques. And it's kind of curious if you have new stuff planned on that on day 1.
I do. Yeah. It's not the same old thing, because the pandemic changed me too, and changed the way I do sprints. Outside of the pandemic, I was like, I'm not doing anything over video. I'm just going to wait this thing out. It's probably blow over in a week or two. You remember 2 weeks smoke spread kind of time period. But then obviously it didn't really blow over that fast. So I had to figure out how to use Miro and everything. And actually I at first I was so frustrated using the online whiteboards, but then I got really stoked about it. And so I've been, building templates in there and actually working with the Miro team directly, and gotten really into it. And I actually think now that there are so many powerful things about using a virtual whiteboard that I like using them in person too. So that'll be a huge shift from before to when we're in person in Austin. If you'd come in 2018, we would have been doing everything on paper, would have flip charts or big, something to substitute for a whiteboard for each person, each team. Instead, we'll still be working in teams, and we'll still be doing some of the stuff on paper, but we're going to do a hybrid where we're also doing some of the stuff with, you'll bring your laptop, your iPad or whatever, and you'll be doing some of the stuff right in Miro, and using a template that, everybody, they can use out after the sprint is over on your own. And it's got a lot of the instructions and me kind of breaking down the activities right in the board, which I find handy when I'm facilitating because I don't have to remember everything. A lot of the stuff is kind of baked in to the board there. So I found that really powerful. I could talk a little bit about in the workshop about, the way that working with a virtual whiteboard, some of the things you have to keep in mind if you are in person, and how to continue to have that personal connection. It's really important. Everybody isn't just sitting at their, laptop, kind of the standard meeting we all hate. But also some of the real powers that it gives you, especially if you're a leader in an organization and you want to change the way things are done. That there's some real power in kind of creating the shape of your meeting, whiteboard, in the whiteboard software, and then going in and running the meeting with that armature. And anyway, we'll talk all about that. But I think that's probably the biggest shift. There's always new tactics and smaller techniques. We'll talk about the scoreboard. We'll talk about next steps when the sprint is over. All that stuff is refined and improved. But the big shift you'll notice is the inclusion of a virtual aspect. So it will be physical and virtual.
Nice.
Yeah, I love the idea of having kind of indelible artifacts that we can refer back to. And I don't know, I think about times when running around the room at the end of each day, taking photos of everything and then trying to accumulate those things back up for reference. And with the boards, you don't have to do that. So there's a real, I don't know, to your point, it's really nice when you can blend the two, the physical components as well as the digital.
Totally. It's huge. It's huge to have it afterward and to have something that you not only can so easily capture, and it's one link, it's not this folder of photos and you're kind of sifting through them, but it can continue to grow. The board, I see teams who say, we're going to put our second sprint in there too. We'll put our updated prototype, and some teams do that. Or you have a master board where you link all of your sprint boards off of whatever. But having this thing that's still like active and dynamic after the sprint is over, God, it's so cool. So love it.
It sounds like
erase this on the whiteboard.
Yeah, right. Let's clean up.
There you go. It sounds like, Jake, this would be good both for folks who are completely new to sprints and also people who have been doing this for a while as well.
I think so. And it's always been the case that I've tried to craft the workshop so that if you come in cold and you by accident, even if you came in, that it would make sense to you. I will very quickly introduce the basics of the sprint, where it came from, what it's about, the principles of what we're doing. So if you're totally coming in new, coming in cold, it's going to work out for you. But also for folks who've done it, 100 times, 1,000 times, I still hope that there's still new stuff. And this time, especially because it's been so long since I've done a workshop, so many things have been cooking. I've been doing a lot of sprints, working on it. Co-founded Character Ventures since then, so working with a lot of early stage startups again, and in kind of a slightly different angle than what we were doing at Google Ventures. So I have a lot of new perspectives. So I think even if you feel like you've kind of done it all with sprints, that we'll still have a good dialogue and have some new ideas for you.
Nice.
I think that's especially true for day 2.
Yeah. Day 2, right? We haven't talked about day 2 yet. So, and I'm going to kind of keep it a tiny bit mysterious, but I've been doing a lot with Character. We've been working with these early stage startups who are investing in, right? So we're trying to figure out how to help them get to product market fit, so they're in that kind of stage. And obviously design sprints are a huge part of that. That's what design sprints are kind of tuned and optimized to do. But we've also found that there's this time before the sprint that's really important when you're starting something new and ambitious, and you're trying to get your arms around, like, how are we positioning this product against our competitors or against the workarounds that people have today if there's no solution in this space? And what are we all about? Like, what's sort of driving us? What are the principles driving us? maybe out of all the opportunities that we're considering, which are the most important? So sometimes before people run a sprint, and this might apply to a startup or at any sized organization, you might be saying like, we have a few different paths we could take.
Mm-hmm.
Which one is the right one to pursue or investigate first? And so I've got some formats, some new sprint formats to share. These are smaller formats, right? These are like the kinds of things you can do in a day or half a day. But along the lines of, if anybody's familiar with the 3-hour brand sprint, that's a guide that you can find online that I wrote. It's kind of a shorter form thing, a shorter form workshop that gets you to an outcome. And I'm really excited to share those. So day 2 is kind of the advanced session. We'll go into topics that, assume you've got some background with the sprint already, or assume that you want to come in and learn about some of these things that are more structural, more foundational, more about like what's really at the core of starting a new project, and how do you make sure that strategically you're choosing the best opportunities to focus on.
Yeah, it's so key, because we get those questions all the time. What's best to sprint on? How should we start this? We've got this whole landscape of things, and it sounds like a great way to dig directly into those questions.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so that'll be exciting. And if you do come to day 2, you'll be seeing something that that's the first time that workshop has been taught anywhere. So so that's kind of a special opportunity.
Right. Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah, we often hear from folks that are in the facilitation community just curious about new formulas and new things to try. And I think this will be an exciting way for folks to kind of see what you've been working on and really get the gears turning on different ways to kind of tweak things and adjust for different use cases.
Yeah. I hope it gives folks some food for thought, and I'm also really eager to hear people, have a conversation with folks about how would this fit into the way you work. Been using it with startups and a little bit with when I do some consulting work with larger organizations, and it's funny because, as you'll see if you join, there's a few really pretty simple frameworks that we've worked really hard to break down so that the conversations around moving through these frameworks, like that those conversations and questions are efficient and don't wander, because you're talking about big, fuzzy, fundamental stuff.
Yeah.
And it's easy actually for those conversations. We've all been in those conversations that just wind around and around. They just unspool, and all of a sudden you're like, well, I guess it's time to go to the next meeting, or I guess I got to go to I got to go to lunch or whatever. But trying to make those really concise, productive, guide them to an outcome that's one that you really can use. And I think it'll be. I'm hoping that you'll find a direct match for a way to use it in your own work. But it may be the case that you'll do that. You'll look at the format and you'll say, "Gosh, this is great. I'm going to use this component of this piece, and I'll be able to adapt it." That I do. So I hope it gives you like a new tools in the toolkit kind of thing.
Nice.
Speaking of the longer conversations and direct application to work, there's the third option, which is the VIP transformation, which is opportunity to have an ongoing dialogue around the work. And, I've often found I get stuck if I go learn a new thing. My questions always emerge when I sit down to do my work. And I'm like, wait a second, how am I supposed to apply this? And so the idea being that, we'll all three be around for sessions following the event to guide people through those moments where they encounter some questions or just kind of curious about how they might apply.
Yeah, one of those places where so much learning happens through practice, right? And if we just leave it all in the workshop there, it's when applications happen and the questions come up that you want to discuss new ideas or directions, and that we'll be there with folks for that the quarter following for some coaching and some opportunities for that reflection and feedback, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think the three of us were, as we were talking about, hey, like maybe we should try doing a live event again and talking about the format of it. I think this question that we kept talking about was like, how do we make this as impactful for people or teams who attend as possible. And one of the frustrations with doing a workshop, I mean, I love doing a workshop. It's so fun to be there in person. It's so fun to go through, this sort of accelerated process and do the hands-on work. But one of the frustrations is knowing that at the end, like, everybody goes their separate ways, goes and does their stuff. And just like you said, like, the questions come up later. So we kind of wanted to figure out a way to offer some continuation that, it could be meaningful, so we'll kind of limit the participation so that the number of people in any cohort is small enough. We can really have conversations. You can bring up questions and we can dig in and answer them. And we wanted to offer something that really conveyed some of the unique value of getting to work with voltage control. Like, that's kind of the cool thing here. Voltage control is putting this on. I'm here. I can tell you what I know about sprints and what I know about, getting your next sprint or your next project started. But Eric, Douglas, the team at Voltage, they know about kind of organizational change and how you do transformational projects over a longer period of time, what that looks like when you're working in an organization, what that looks like when you're developing products. Like, there's a lot more to that iceberg. And so we want to give you access to that with this, like the VIP package, we're calling it, which is going to extend on post workshop.
So as we're kind of coming to the end of our live stream here, I wanted to highlight one of the comments. We got a question around, glad to see it's coming, and do we have a schedule available for the series? So realize that there might be a little confusion there. The series are the 2 days in Austin plus the optional transformation. You can buy a ticket for either day, both days, or the VIP package includes it all. And so the Austin is the programmed scheduled moment right now. But if you can't make Austin, stay tuned. Maybe if Austin goes well, we'll be considering other opportunities.
But you should know that I probably won't ever be doing as many workshops as I was pre-pandemic, because I moved far away. I'm in the United States, but I live in the little island where I grew up, and it makes travel a little bit less convenient for me. So these are going to be less frequent than they were in the years prior to the pandemic. If you can make it to Austin, I definitely recommend it. We'll try to put on more in the future, but it won't be an every month or every couple months kind of thing like it once was.
Yeah. And such an opportunity to be there as you're sharing these new formats. I mean, this is the first time that folks are going to get to see and experience these things. So that's a cool opportunity right there.
Awesome. See, we got a few comments, but no other questions. So if everybody's feeling good and complete, we might adjourn for the day, and looking forward to seeing everyone in Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. And Douglas, Eric, good talking to you guys.
Yeah. Likewise. See y'all there.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.